Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Gendera. I'm Gerowyn, and tonight I'm going to be reading the book of Ecclesiastes. Now, Ecclesiastes is known to be a little bit of a depressing book, when it actually isn't. I'm going to leave a link in the description and a link up here, if I remember, to a video that helps to explain Ecclesiastes a little bit. Anyway, so this is the New King James Version of the Bible. And let's get into Ecclesiastes. I probably won't get through the whole book in one go, but let's see how we go, shall we? Because it's not a huge book. It's only, it's still a few I think there are 12 chapters in Ecclesiastes. I'm not going to get through that all tonight. Although it probably would be good if I did, because it's a little bit depressing. It can seem a little bit depressing. So yes, anyway, vanity of life. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king of Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Now in the actual Hebrew, that actually means smoke or vapor. So it's something that goes really quickly, and something it seems to be there, but it's not really there. So yeah, it's vanity. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. What profit has a man from all his labour, in which he toils under the sun? One generation passes away, and another generation comes, but the earth abides for ever. The sun also rises, and the sun goes down, and hastens to the place where it arose. The wind goes towards the south, and turns around to the north. The wind whirls about continually, and comes again on its circuit. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. To the place from which the rivers come, there they return again. All things are full of labour. Men cannot express it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. That which has been is what will be, and what is done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which it may be said, "See, this is new"? It has already been in ancient times before us. There is no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of things that are to come, by those who will come after. The grief of wisdom. I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem, and I set my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all that is done under heaven. This burdensome task God has given to the sons of men, by which they may be exercised. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and indeed all is vanity and grasping for the wind. What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be numbered. I communed with my heart, saying, "Look, I have attained greatness, and have gained more wisdom than all who were before me in Jerusalem. My heart has understood great wisdom and knowledge, and I set my heart to know wisdom, and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this is also grasping for the wind. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases in knowledge increases sorrow." You may have already noticed that Ecclesiastes could be seen as a fairly depressing book, especially coming after Proverbs. But it has a key at the end, which is really, really important. And the whole book is really, really important. It helps to add some balance to some of lifeness. The vanity of pleasure. I said in my heart, "Come now, I will test you with mirth. Therefore enjoy pleasure." But surely this also was vanity. I said to laughter, Madness. And of mirth, what does it accomplish? I search in my heart how to gratify my flesh with wine, while guiding my heart with wisdom, and how to lay hold on the folly, till I might see what was good for sons of men to do under heaven all the days of their life. I made my works great. I built myself houses, and I planted myself vineyards. I made myself gardens and orchards, and I planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made myself water pools from which to water the growing trees of the groves. I acquired male and female servants, and had servants born in my house. Yes, I had greater possessions of herds and flocks than all who were in Jerusalem before me. I also gathered for myself silver and gold, and the special treasures of kings and of provinces. I acquired male and female singers, and delights of the sons of men, and musical instruments of all kinds. So I became great and excelled more than all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me. Whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I did not withhold my heart from any pleasure, for my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my reward from all my labor. Then I looked on all the works that my hands had done, and on the labor in which I had toiled, and indeed all was vanity and grasping for the wind. There was no profit under the sun. The end of the wise and the fool. Then I turned myself to consider wisdom and madness and folly. For what can man do who succeeds the king? Only what he has already done. Then I saw that wisdom excels folly, as light excels darkness. The wise man's eyes are in his head, but the fool walks in darkness. Yet I myself perceived that the same event happens to them all. So I said in my heart, as it happened to the fool, it also happens to me. And why was I then more wise? Then I said in my heart, this also is vanity. For there is no more remembrance of the wise men than of the fool forever, since all that now is will be forgotten in the days to come. And how does a wise man die? As the fool. Therefore I hated life, because the work that was done under the sun was distressing to me, for all is vanity and grasping for wind. Then I hated all of my labor, in which I had toiled under the sun, because I must leave it to a man who will come after me, and who knows whether he will be wise or a fool. Yet he will rule over all the labor in which I toiled, and in which I have shown myself wise under the sun. This also is vanity. Therefore I turned my heart, and despaired of all the labor in which I had toiled under the sun. For there is a man whose labor is with wisdom, knowledge, and skill, yet he must leave his heritage to a man who has not labored for it. It also is vanity, and a great evil. For what has a man for all his labor, and for the striving of his heart, with which he has toiled under the sun? For all his days are sorrowful, and his work burdensome. Even in the night his heart takes no rest. This also is vanity. Nothing is better for a man than that he should eat and drink, and that his soul should enjoy good in his labor. This also I saw was from the hand of God. For who can eat, and who can have enjoyment more than I? For God gives wisdom and knowledge and joy to a man who is good in his sight. But the sinner he gives the work of gathering and collecting, and he may give him who is good before God. This also is vanity and grasping for wind. Chapter 3. Everything has its time. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to gain and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow. Skipped a page. A time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. The God-given task. What profit has the worker from that in which he labours? I have seen the God-given task with which the sons of men are to be occupied. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity in their hearts, except that no one can find out the work that God does from beginning to end. I know that nothing is better for them than to rejoice and to do good in their lives, and also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all of his labour. It is the gift of God. I know that whatever God does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be added to it and nothing taken from it. God does it, that men should fear before him. That which is has already been, and what is to be has already been. And God requires an account of what is past. Injustice seems to prevail. Moreover, I saw under the sun, in the place of judgment, wickedness are there, and in the place of righteousness, iniquity was there. I said in my heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. I said in my heart concerning the condition of sons of men, God tests them, and that they may see that they themselves are like animals. For what happens to the sons of men also happens to animals. One thing befalls them, as one dies, so dies the other. Surely they all have one breath. Man has no advantage over the animals, for all is vanity. All go to one place. All are from the dust, and all return to the dust. So none who knows the spirit of the sons of men, which goes upward, and the spirit of animals, which goes down to the earth. So I perceived that nothing is better than that a man should rejoice in his own works, for that is his heritage. For who can bring him to see what will happen after? Then I returned and considered all the oppression that is done under the sun. And look, the tears of the oppressed, but they have no comforter. On the side of their oppressors there is power, but they have no comforter. Therefore I praised the dead, who were already dead, more than the living who are still alive. Yet better than both is he who has never existed, who has not seen the evil work that is done under the sun. The vanity of selfish toil. Again I saw that for all the toil and every skillful work a man is envied by his neighbour. This also is vanity and grasping for the wind. The fool folds his hands and consumes his own flesh. Better a handful with quietness than both hands full together with toil and grasping for wind. Then I returned and saw vanity under the sun. There is one alone, without companion. He has neither son nor brother, yet there is no end to all his labour, nor is his eyes satisfied with riches. But he never asks, for whom do I toil and deprive myself of good? This also is vanity and a grave misfortune. Lots to consider. The value of a friend. 2 are better than 1, because they have a good reward for their labour. For if they fall, one will lift up his companion. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. Again, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one be warm alone? Though one may be overpowered by another, 2 can withstand him, and a 3-fold cord is not quickly broken. Popularity passes away. Better a poor and wise youth than an old and foolish king, who will be admonished no more. For he comes out of the prison to be king, although he was born poor in his kingdom. I saw all the living who walk under the sun. They were with the second youth who stands in his place. There was no end of all the people over whom he was made king. Yet those who come afterwards will not rejoice in him. Surely this is also vanity and grasping for wind. Fear God, keep your vows. Walk prudently when you go to the house of God, and draw near to hear rather than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they do not know that they do evil. Do not be rash with your mouth, and let not your heart utter anything hastily before God, for God is in heaven, and you on earth. Therefore let your own words be few, for a dream comes through much activity, and a fool's voice is known by his many words. When you make a vow to God, do not delay to pay it, for he has no pleasure in fools. Pay what you have vowed. Better not to vow than to vow and not pay. Do not let your mouth cause your flesh to sin, nor say before the messenger of God that it was an error. Why should God be angry at your excuse and destroy the work of your hands? For in the multitude of dreams and many words there is also vanity. But fear God. The vanity of gain and honour. If you see the oppression of the poor and the violent perversion of justice and righteousness in a province, do not marvel at the matter, for high official watches over the high officials, and higher officials are over them. Moreover, the profit of the land is for all, even the king is served from the field. He who loves silver will not be satisfied with silver. Oh, George Mueller says, so that's George Mueller, the beginning of anxiety is the end of faith, and the beginning of true faith is the end of anxiety. George Mueller was a very interesting man. He ran a ridiculously large number of orphanages over in the UK, I think it was, and lived totally by faith. So if they didn't have food for breakfast, they would pray. And there's one story where they prayed and the milkman his truck broke down outside their door, and they gave him a whole heap of milk. And a baker got up and made a whole heap of bread. He didn't ask for help, but God provided it. Wisdom right there. Anyway. Nor he who loves abundance with increase. This also is vanity. When goods increase, they increase who eat them. So what profit have the owners except to see them with their eyes? Oh, sorry. The sleep of labouring men is sweet, whether he eats little or much, but the abundance of rich will not permit him to sleep. There is a severe evil, which I have seen under the sun. Riches kept for their owner to his hurt. For those riches perish through misfortune. When he begets a son, there is nothing in his hand, As he came from his mother's womb, naked shall he return, to go as he came, and he shall take nothing from his labour, which he may carry away in his hand. And this is a severe evil. Just exactly as he came, so shall he go. And what profit has he who has laboured for the wind? All his days he also eats in darkness, and he has much sorrow and sickness and anger. Here is what I have seen. It is good and fitting for one to eat and drink, and to enjoy the good of all his labour, in which he toils under the sun, all the days of his life which God gives him. For it is his heritage. As for every man to whom God has given riches and wealth, and given him power to eat of it, to receive his heritage and rejoice in his labour. This is the gift of God, for he will not dwell unduly on the days of his life, because God keeps him busy with the joy of his heart. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and it is common among men. A man to whom God has given riches and wealth and honour, so that he lacks nothing for himself, of all he desires, yet God does not give him power to eat of it, but a foreigner consumes it. This is vanity, and it is an evil affliction. If a man begets 100 children, and lives many years, so that the days of his years are many, but his soul is not satisfied with goodness, or indeed he has no burial, I say that a stillborn child is better than he. For it comes in vanity, and departs in darkness, and its name is covered without darkness. Though it has not seen the sun, or known anything, this has more rest than that man. Even if he lives 1,000 years twice, but has not seen goodness, do not all go to the one place? All the labour of man is for his mouth, and yet the soul is not satisfied. For what more has a wise man than the fool? What does the poor man have? Who knows how to walk before the living? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of desire. This also is vanity and grasping for wind. Whatever one is, he has been named already. For it is known that he is man, and he cannot contend with him who is mightier than he. Since there are many things that increase vanity, how is man the better? For who knows what is good for a man in life, all the days of his vain life, which he passes like a shadow? Who can tell a man what will happen after him under the sun? The value of practical wisdom. A good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death than the day of one's birth. Better to go to a house of mourning than to a house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, and the living will take it to heart. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by sad countenance the heart is made better. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools. For like the crackling of thorns under a pot, so is the laughter of the fool. This also is vanity. Surely oppression destroys a wise man's reason, and a bribe debases the heart. The end of a thing is better than its beginning. The patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. Do not hasten in your spirit to be angry, for anger rests in the bosom of fools. Do not say, why were the former days better than these? For you do not inquire wisely concerning this. Wisdom is good with an inheritance, and profitable to those who see the sun. For wisdom is a defence as money is a defence. But the excellence of knowledge is that wisdom gives life to those who have it. Jacqueline K. Heasley says, how you believe God perceives people will determine how you respond to them. Consider the work of God, for who can make straight what he has made crooked. In the day of prosperity, be joyful, but in the day of adversity, consider, surely God has appointed the one as well as the other, so that man can find out nothing that will come after. I have seen everything in my days of vanity. There is a just man who perishes in righteousness, and there is a wicked man who prolongs life in his wickedness. Do not be overly righteous, nor be overly wise. Why should you destroy yourself? Do not be overly wicked, nor be foolish. Why should you die before your time? It is good that you grasp this, and also not remove your hand from other. For he who fears God will escape them all. Wisdom strengthens the wise more than 10 rulers the city. For there is not just man on earth who does good and does not sin. Also, do not take to heart everything people say, lest you hear your servant cursing you. For many times also your own heart has known that even you have cursed others. All this I have proved by wisdom. I said, I will be wise, but it was far from me. As for that which is far off and exceedingly deep, who can find it out? I applied my heart to know, to search and to seek out wisdom and reason of things, and to know wickedness and folly, even of foolishness and madness, and I find more bitter than death. The woman whose heart is snares and nets, whose hands are fetters, he who pleases God shall escape from her, but the sinners shall be trapped by her. Here is what I have found, says the preacher, adding one thing to the other to find out the reason, which my soul still seeks, but I cannot find. One man among 1,000 I have found, but a woman among all of these I have not found. Truly this only I have found, that God made man upright, but they have sought out many schemes. Who is like a wise man, and who knows the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom makes his face shine, and the sternness of his face is changed. Obey authorities for God's sake. I say, keep the king's commandment for the sake of your oath to God. Do not be hasty to go from his presence. Do not take your stand for an evil thing, for he who does whatever he pleases him. For he does whatever he pleases him. Where the word of the king is, there is power. And who may say to him, what are you doing? He who keeps his command will experience nothing harmful. A wise man's heart discerns both time and judgment, because for every matter there is a time and judgment. Though the misery of man increases greatly, for he does not know what will happen. So who can tell him when it will occur? No one has the power over the spirit to retain the spirit, and no one has power in the day of death. There is no release from that war. The wickedness will not deliver those who are given to it. All this I have seen, and applied my heart to every work that is done under the sun. There is a time in which one man rules over another, to his own hurt. Death comes to all. Then I saw the wicked buried, who had come and gone from the place of the holiness, and they were forgotten, in the city where they had so done. This also is vanity, because the sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily. Therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. Though a sinner does evil 100 times, and his days are prolonged, yet I surely know that it will be well with those who fear God, who fear before him. But it will not be well with the wicked, nor will he prolong his days, which are as a shadow, because he does not fear before God. There is vanity which occurs on the earth, that there are just two to whom it happens according to the work of the wicked. Again, there are wicked men to whom it happens according to the work of the righteous. I said that this is also vanity. So I commended enjoyment, because a man has nothing better under the sun than to eat, drink, and be merry. For this will remain with him in his labour all the day of his life, which God gives him under the sun. When I applied my heart to know wisdom, and to see the business that is done on earth, even though one sees no sleep day or night, then I saw all those work of God, that man cannot find out the work that is done under the sun. For though a man labours to discover it, yet he will not find it. Moreover, though a wise man attempts to know it, he will not be able to find it. For I considered all this in my heart, so that I could declare it all, that the righteous and the wise and their works are in the hand of God. People know neither love nor hatred by anything they see before them. All things come alike to all. One event happens to the righteous and the wicked, to good, the clean, and the unclean, to him who sacrifices and him who does not sacrifice. As is good, so is the sinner. He who takes an oath, as he who fears an oath. This is an evil in all that is done under the sun, that one thing happens to all. Truly the hearts of the Son of Men are full of evil. Madness is in their hearts while they live, and after that they go to the dead. But for him who is joined to all the living there is hope. For a living dog is better than a dead lion. For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing, and they have no more reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. Also their love, their hatred, and their envy have now perished. Nevermore will they have a share in anything done under the sun. Go, eat your bread with joy, and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already accepted your works. Let your garments always be white, and your head lack no oil. Live joyfully with the wife whom you love all the days of your vain life, which he has given you under the sun, all of your days of vanity, for that is your portion in life and in labour which you perform under the sun. Tell the students to give up their small ambitions and come eastward to preach the gospel of Christ. Francis Xavier. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might, for there is no work or device or knowledge or wisdom in the grave where you are going. I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor the bread to the wise, nor riches to the men of understanding, nor favour to men of skill, but time and chance happen to them all. For man also does not know his time, like fish taken in a cruel net, like birds caught in a snare. So the sons of men are snared in an evil time, when it falls suddenly upon them. Wisdom superior to folly. This wisdom I have also seen under the sun, and it seemed great to me. There was a little city with few men in it, and a great king came against it, besieged it, and built great snares around it. Now there was found in it a poor wise man, and he by his wisdom delivered the city. Yet no one remembered the same poor man. Then I said, Wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard, nor the wise spoken quietly should be heard, rather than the shout of a ruler of fools. Wisdom is better than a weapon of war, but one sinner destroys much good. Dead flies putrefy the perfumer's ointment, and cause it to give off a foul odour. So does a little folly in one respected of wisdom and honour. A man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart at his left. Even when a fool walks along the way, he lacks wisdom, and he shows everyone that he is a fool. If the spirit of the ruler rises against you, do not leave your post. For conciliation pacifies great offences. There is an evil I have seen under the sun, as an error proceeding from the ruler. Folly is set in great dignity, while the rich sit in a lowly place. I have seen servants on horses, while princes walk on the ground like servants. He who digs a pit will fall into it, and whoever breaks through a wall will be bitten by a serpent. He who quarries stone may be hurt by them, and he who splits wood may be endangered by it. If the axe is dull, and one does not sharpen the edge, then he must use more strength. But wisdom brings success. A serpent may bite when it is not charmed. The babbler is no different. The words of a wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool shall swallow him up. The words of his mouth begin with foolishness, and the end of his talk is raving madness. A fool also multiplies words. No man knows what is to be. Who can tell him what will be after him? The labour of fools wearies them, for they do not even know how to go to the city. Woe to you, O land, when your king is a child, and the princes feast in the morning. Blessed are you, O land, when your king is a son of nobles, and your princes feast at the proper time. For strength and not for drunkenness, because of laziness the buildings decay, and through idleness of hands the house leaks. A feast is made for laughter, and wine makes merry, but money answers everything. Do not curse the king, even in your thought. Do not curse the rich, even in your bedroom. For a bird of the air may carry your voice, and a bird in flight may tell the matter. The value of diligence. Cast your bread upon the water, for you will find it after many days. Give a serving to 7, and also to 8. Ooh, what does George Westcott say? If you see one hurrying on to destruction, use utmost of your endeavour to stop him in his course. For you do not know what evil will be on the earth. If the clouds are full of rain, they empty themselves upon the earth. And if a tree falls to the south or to the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it shall lie. He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap, as you do not know what is the way of the wind. Or how the bones grow in the womb of her who is with child. So you do not know the works of God who makes everything. In the morning sow your seeds, and in the evening do not withhold your hand, for you do not know which will prosper, either this or that, or whether both alike will be good. Truly the light is sweet, and it is pleasant for the eyes to behold the sun. But if a man lives many years and rejoices in them all, yet him remember the days of darkness. for they will be many. All that is coming is vanity. Seek God in early life. Rejoice, O young men, in your youth, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. Walk in the ways of your heart and in the sight of your eyes, but know that all these God will bring you into the judgment. Therefore remove sorrow from your heart, and put away evil from your flesh, for childhood and youth are vanity. Remember now your Creator in the days of your youth, before the difficult days come, and the years draw near when you say, I have no pleasure in them, while the sun and the light, the moon and the stars are not darkened, and the clouds do not return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house tremble, and the strong men bow down, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look through the windows grow dim, when the doors are shut in the street, and the sound of the grinding is low, when one rises up at the sound of a bird, and all the daughters of music are brought low. Also they are afraid of height, and the terror of the way. When the almond tree blossoms and the grasshopper is burned, and desire fails, for man goes to his eternal home, and the mourners go to the streets. Remember your Creator before the silver cord is loosed, and the golden bowl is broken. God uses broken things. It takes broken soil to produce a crop, broken clouds to give rain, broken grain to give bread, broken bread to give strength. It is the broken alabaster box that gives forth perfume. It is Peter, weeping bitterly, who returns to greater power than ever. Vance Havner. Or the pitcher shattered at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the well, then the dust will return to the earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. Vanity of vanity, says the preacher. All is vanity. The whole duty of man. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yes, he poured and sought out and set it order many proverbs. The preacher sought to find acceptable words, and what was written was upright. Words of truth. The words of the wise are like goads, and the words of scholars are like well-driven nails given by one shepherd. And further, my son, be admonished by these, or making many books there is no end, and much study is wearisome to the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. So this is the purpose of this whole book, is to remind us to fear God and keep his commandments, and this is man's all. For God will bring every work into judgment, including every secret thing, whether it's good or evil. So that is the end of the book of Ecclesiastes. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bless you.